This video is brought to you by WorldSoccerShop.com, offering the world's largest selection of authentic jerseys and apparel for both club and country. Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you my personal favorite top 10 soccer cleats of 2014. Now in today's video, I'm going to be rattling off in order from 10 to 1 my favorite shoes that I got to wear this year and giving you guys reasoning as to why I made these picks, of course. Now please keep in mind that I'm only going to be talking about shoes that were released in 2014. Shoes that came out in 2013 or even prior to that were not included on this list, most notably the Nike Hypervenom Phantom, which was actually my pick for boot of the year in 2013. But because everybody's well aware that that is a very good shoe, I decided not to include it on this list and keep it exclusively to shoes that were released this year, because that's kind of what we're summing up the year of 2014 in soccer cleats. So please keep in mind that all of these picks are my personal favorite shoes of 2014, which may not necessarily line up with your personal favorite shoes. But what you guys can do down below in the comments is make a list yourself. Leave your top 10, leave your top 5, maybe even just your top 3 picks for 2014, and you guys can see how your answers differ from each other and of course how they compare to my answers as well, because at the end of the day, soccer cleats are all about preference. What's my favorite shoe might not be your favorite shoe. So without further ado, let's get into my personal favorite top 10 shoes of 2014. To start things off, we have the Nike Mercurial Vapor 10, which takes the 10th spot on my top 10 list. Now, depending on what your preferences are, the Nike Mercurial Vapor 10 may be much higher on your top 10 list for 2014, maybe even your number 1. And the only reason why it takes number 10 on my personal list is not because I think this is a bad shoe. I think it's a very, very good shoe. It just isn't my personal cup of tea in terms of what I like from a pair of soccer cleats. If you're a fan of shoes that are ultra thin and provide a very lightweight barefoot sensation while you're playing in them, then the Vapor 10 is definitely a shoe that you should consider, because it really does have a lot to offer. Again, I'm somebody who likes shoes that have a little bit more weight to them, tend to have more of a padded sensation to the upper. So this is kind of the exact opposite of that. But the reason why I enjoy wearing the Vapor 10 is because I'm really impressed by the technical achievement that it actually is. It features the thinnest Asian synthetic upper we've ever seen on a Nike Mercurial Vapor, but at the same time, it's also extremely soft, very, very flexible, and probably the most comfortable Nike Mercurial Vapor model that Nike has ever put out. It's also really the first one-piece thin synthetic soccer shoe that has really been executed well and offers a really nice fit. The only other shoe I can really compare it to that had a one-piece upper was, of course, the Lotto Zero Gravity series. Those didn't have laces, and I didn't wear every single model, but the models that I did wear, while they weren't terrible, they're nowhere near as good as what Nike was able to achieve here with the Vapor 10. The shoe fits extremely well. It's the most comfortable Mercurial Vapor to date. It's the nicest thin Asian synthetic upper we've ever seen on a Vapor model, and the sole plate and stud pattern for the new Mercurial line also works really well on this particular shoe. So overall, the Vapor 10, number 10 on my list, and for good reason. Number 9 on my list is the Adidas 11 Pro 3. Now this is by far the newest release of all the shoes featured on the list. It's actually the last major release of 2014, and because of that, I don't have nearly as much experience playing in this shoe as I do with most of the other shoes on this particular list, and for that reason it takes the number 9 spot. If I was making this video, let's say 3 to 4 months from now, after getting some more playing time in this particular shoe, there's a strong possibility that it would be much higher up on the list. But like I said, with the less than 30 to 40 hour playing experience that I have on the 11 Pro 3, I can't put it up comfortably higher on the list, but this is definitely a shoe that I will be wearing a lot in the upcoming year. Now what's impressive about this shoe is that Adidas has really done a good job with modifying the classic kangaroo leather feel. They have their Copa Mundial, and the Adi/11 Pro line is all about providing that classic feel, but of course with a modern twist. And what Adidas has done here is they've implemented an internal skeleton support frame that takes the place of your traditional stitching on the kangaroo leather upper, and it works extremely well. It definitely has a different feel from any other kangaroo leather soccer shoe that I've worn in the past. It feels good, it still allows the shoe to stretch, and it has a more structured sensation on your feet than what you're going to find from most traditional kangaroo leather soccer shoes. It's just one of those shoes that honestly I wasn't expecting. Whenever you see a shoe that features a natural leather upper, especially kangaroo leather, companies tend to keep things very, very simple, and Adidas didn't do that with the 11 Pro 3. They took a risk, and I definitely think that it paid off. Again, still a very new release, so a lot of people are still waiting a little bit longer to see what happens with this particular shoe. But if you've been interested in this particular model, I would definitely recommend them because it really is an interesting shoe and one that I'm personally a big fan of at the moment. Claiming the number 8 spot on my top 10 list is the Adidas F50 ADIZERO. Now, while barefoot, ultra lightweight soccer cleats aren't really my style in terms of what I like to wear, if I were to wear a shoe of this particular type, it definitely would be the F50 ADIZERO with the synthetic upper variation, I should add. It is ultra lightweight, weighing in around 5.6, 5.8 ounces in a size 9 US, so pretty much weightless on your feet. And considering how lightweight these things actually are, they're surprisingly comfortable, and the quality of the upper is also pretty surprising. They fit extremely well. The hybrid touch that they've incorporated on this shoe is one of the nicest synthetics you can get on any thin soccer shoe at this point in time. It's soft, it's flexible, it does have that slight ability to stretch. It has a very nice kind of plushness to it, which doesn't make it feel padded, but it's nice and thin, and there's just that little bit of extra cushion that almost gives it a natural leather type of feel, which is why I prefer this synthetic material over what you get with the Vapor 10, just based on what I like. Of course, there are different variations of the shoe. This is a standard model with the speed foil in the back. You can get the messy colorways as well that are entirely made from hybrid touch. I honestly don't have a preference when it comes to the two models, so that's not something I'd be too concerned with. But again, if you're looking for a shoe that is ultra lightweight, this is definitely one of the lightest around, if not the lightest shoe currently out there on the market. It's also a shoe that provides great traction, is nice and flexible, is very, very comfortable, and if all of those characteristics are something that you're interested in, the F50 ADIZERO, in my opinion, does that better than any other shoe at the moment. Number 7 on my top 10 list is the Nike MERCURIAL SUPERFLY 4, which for a lot of people this year is a very clear and easy number 1 pick. Now, the reason why it's so low on my top 10 list is, like I mentioned, I'm generally not a huge fan of ultra thin lightweight soccer shoes. With the SUPERFLY 4 though, it makes my list simply because I really enjoy wearing these. It's a very fun shoe to wear. Obviously, it's a very, very impressive technical achievement by Nike, incorporating the Flyknit upper. You do have the Brio cables as extra support, as well as the internal support frame that they've incorporated inside the shoe, the carbon fiber sole plate, the new Mercurial stud pattern, the mid-cut design of the Flyknit upper. It's just a very, very interesting shoe. It's visually stunning, it's lightweight, it's responsive, it's supportive. It really is everything you could possibly want from this style of soccer shoe, and it really has kind of created its own style. I'm curious to see how they can possibly improve on something like this. But for me, not my cup of tea, but a shoe that I like to wear, let's say once or twice a month, just because, like I said, it's really, really an enjoyable experience. Not my cup of tea when it comes to feel, but like I said, just a shoe that I truly enjoy wearing, and for that reason, it is number 7 on my top 10 list. Number 6 on my list is easily the least popular shoe of all of the shoes on my top 10 list. It is the Under Armour CLUTCHFIT Force. Now, one, this is an Under Armour shoe, so a lot of people will kind of write it off altogether, regardless of what I say about this thing. And the second reason why I think a lot of people just didn't try this shoe out, or just didn't even realize it came out in 2014, is because it didn't get a lot of coverage. It launched alongside the OBRA and the SUPERFLY and the Predator, and it was just a really, really poorly timed launch by Under Armour. Plus, they unveiled it, and then the shoe wasn't available for 3 or 4 months after the fact, so all the hype that they got with the initial unveil was completely gone by the time the shoe was actually available to the public. And the third reason why I think it didn't do so well is partly my fault, being that a lot of people look to my reviews for kind of advice on what they should purchase as their next shoe. My initial impressions of this shoe weren't phenomenal. It's a shoe that in your hands is not particularly impressive. It feels like a nice shoe, but there's nothing that jumps out at you as being, like I said, an impressive or unique quality. And even the way they fit at first wasn't anything that jumped out at me as incredible. But after some break-in time, once I actually got to wear this shoe and spend some more time with it, I have to say it really did impress me. This shoe features a very unique upper. It's their CLUTCHFIT technology that has this elasticated quality about it that once you break it in, it forms to the shape of your foot, and when you pull the laces lace is tight, it kind of stretches over your foot and has that nice perfect wrap. It's a very supportive, responsive shoe. It's not overly lightweight, although it certainly isn't heavy either. It's a very comfortable boot, being with its very solid sole plate, stud pattern, and of course the Micro G 4D foam insole combo that they have going on. And overall, it's just a shoe that I really enjoyed. Again, it's on the thinner side. It does have some more thickness to it than something like an F50 ADIZERO or a Mercurial Vapor 10. And it doesn't really compare to anything else out there on the market at this point in time. But what it really reminded me of, if I had to compare it to something, would be the Predator Instinct, in that it's a little bit thinner, but you do get that grippy sensation on the surface of the upper. Plus, it's very comfortable, very responsive, and just a great performer overall. So number 6 on my list, Under Armour CLUTCHFIT Force. I don't expect you to give this shoe a try, but if you are looking for something different, this is a fantastic option. Number 5 on my top 10 list is the Nike Magista OBRA, and just like the Superfly, this is easily a number 1 pick for boot of the year for a lot of people. This was the first mid-cut Flyknit shoe on offer from Nike. It came out about a month before the Superfly 4, so it got a lot of hype around it. Of course, the Magista line took over the TTR 360 line, which a lot of people were unhappy with. But with the Magista OBRA, it's really difficult to compare it to the CTR 360 line, or really any other shoe for that matter, just because of its very unique and intriguing design. It's truly revolutionary with its Flyknit upper. In comparison to the Superfly 4, it has a slightly more padded sensation, with the Flyknit upper being a lot more structured than the thin Flyknit upper on the Superfly 4. Of course, you still get that mid-cut design, which just makes for a very interesting fit and feel when these shoes are on your feet. And of course, the sole plate and stud pattern is entirely different from the Superfly as well, and just a variation that I personally prefer, a little bit more performance-wise. Again, the slightly thicker, more structured upper that you get with the OBRA is really the main reason why I prefer this shoe over the Superfly 4. It still is on the thinner side, but again, if this was a shoe that you were to give me to wear for the entire season, I certainly would not be unhappy about it. So number 5 on my list, the Nike Magista OBRA. The number 4 spot on my list goes to the Nike Magista Opus, and just the top 4 shoes in general on my list are really the standouts for me personally for 2014. These are all shoes that I would love to wear on any given day, and to a certain extent I would say that they are somewhat interchangeable. Now with the Magista Opus, this is also one of the more underrated shoes of the year, and I say that only because it released alongside the Magista OBRA, which really overshadowed the release of the Opus. Of course, it's made by Nike, so a lot of people know about it, but most of the attention was on that mid-cut Flyknit release. Now, a lot of people were disappointed with the Magista lineup replacing the CTR 360 line, and with that top-end model being the Maestri 3, my personal favorite shoe of 2013, because it was replaced by the Magista line, a lot of people automatically assumed that the OBRA was the replacement for the Maestri 3, and that wasn't really the case. The logical successor to the Maestri 3 is definitely the Opus, in that it combines a lot of the same elements. It has a Kangolite synthetic upper that is certainly thinner than what we've seen on all past Maestri models. It's got all these little cutouts with a base layer of performance mesh acting as the liner, as well as being a piece of the upper. Because of all these cutouts, the Kangolite synthetic is very soft and extremely flexible, virtually no break-in time required. It is, like I said, a little bit thinner than what we've seen from past Maestri models, but still maintains that slightly padded sensation that we've come to expect from Kangolite. It is a synthetic material, after all, that is designed to mimic the feel of natural kangaroo leather, and while you don't necessarily get that sensation from the Opus, it is still what I would consider to be leather-like. You have this very fine, gritty sensation to the surface of the upper, so while there aren't any rubber elements like we saw on past Maestris, you still get a decent amount of grip on the ball, maintains the same lacing system as you guys can see, a very similar shape to that of the Maestri 3. It's also about an ounce lighter than the Maestri 3, weighing in at around 7 ounces or so in a size 9.5 US. And then of course we get the new Magista sole plate and stud pattern, which is very flexible and more along the lines of what we got with the TIEMPO line, which I personally really like. One of my personal favorite stud patterns on the market. So overall, the Magista Opus just has a lot of what I like. And again, if you are a fan of the Maestri 3 and you're looking for a replacement for that shoe, that is of course a latest model from Nike, the Magista Opus is definitely a shoe that you should consider. The number 3 spot on my top 10 list goes to the PUMA EVOPOWER 1. Now this is a shoe that I'm a huge fan of, not only because it performs well, because it's comfortable, it offers a great stud pattern, it's lightweight, and just incorporates a lot of different characteristics that you'd normally find in multiple pairs of shoes all wrapped up into one. But the main reason why I'm such a fan is that this shoe was truly designed from the ground up. Whenever we see a new model, whenever we see a new silo, there's always something about that shoe that we've seen before. But with the PUMA EVOPOWER 1, especially in the way that it feels and performs, it's unlike anything else we've ever seen before, and that is truly something special. If it wasn't 2014, if it didn't release alongside the SUPERFLY and the OBRA, this would hands down be the most unique shoe of 2014. Now, what's cool about this shoe and the marketing was perhaps a little bit overdone, I would say, in terms of what they were claiming. They claimed that this shoe would allow you to strike the ball with more power and with more accuracy, and that is not the case. No shoe currently on the market anyways is going to allow you to shoot the ball more accurately or with more power. But what it does do is it provides a sensation when you strike the ball that you can't achieve with any other soccer cleat at the market. They did some studies and found that when you strike a ball barefoot, the natural flexibility of your foot, the curling of your toes, adds to the overall power that is transferred to the soccer ball, leading to a more powerful strike on the ball. So that is what they wanted to mimic with the PUMA EVOPOWER 1. In order to do that, they incorporated a uniquely flexible sole plate that is dubbed the gradual stability frame, an Adapt Light one-way stretch microfiber synthetic that is thin but at the same time slightly plush, which allows this shoe to actually bend backwards in the toe and forefoot area when you strike through the ball. A very interesting sensation. They also found that while having a thinner upper made for better power, having a little bit of extra padding made for better accuracy. So in order to compensate, to have the best of both worlds, they incorporated their AccuFoam pads directly into the Adapt Light synthetic through all of the striking areas on your foot. Now this extra padding does make for, like you would expect, a little bit of extra padding when striking through the ball. Again, not necessarily making your strike more accurate, but the overall sensation is absolutely fantastic and unlike anything else I've ever experienced. Not to mention the shoe is extremely comfortable, very, very lightweight, has a nice aggressive and stable stud pattern, and again, it just has everything you could possibly want in a pair of soccer cleats. So for me, number 3 of 2014 is very, very easily the PUMA EVOPOWER 1. The number 2 spot, or my second favorite shoe of 2014, is hands down the Adidas Predator Instinct. Now the Predator Instinct definitely doesn't change the game in terms of what we've seen from the Predator series over the last couple of years. It's not entirely different from the LZ1 and LZ2. The LZ1 was a shoe that I honestly wasn't too big of a fan of. The LZ2 was a shoe that definitely grew on me throughout its entire lifespan. And with the Predator Instinct, they've really perfected this hybrid touch rubberized element design, in my opinion. Not only is it better looking, more aggressive overall, but it's also more aggressive in terms of how this shoe feels. The hybrid touch upper is thin, it's soft, it's flexible, it's more comfortable than it's ever been, and the way that they've repositioned the actual rubberized elements just makes it feel much more natural on your foot, not restricting the stretch of the shoe all that much. So like I said, just more comfortable overall. And the actual rubberized lethal zones themselves are much larger, much more aggressive, and provide that much more grip on the ball, which is really what the Predator Instinct is all about. It provides a feel that you can't get from any other shoe. It does take some getting used to, but once you actually get used to it, there's a controlled sensation that goes along with all that extra grip that is very noticeable when passing the ball, controlling the ball, and especially shooting, which is really why I was such a big fan of the Predator Instinct. Also, little things like the reverse side Velcro in the heel liner that helps to lock your heel in place, as well as the new control frame, which is about 2 ounces heavier than what we saw with the sprint frame construction on the previous 2 LZ models. Some people were a little bit unhappy about that. I feel like this is a more traditional Predator experience. The sole plate's a little bit more flexible, a little bit more comfortable underfoot, and I don't mind the more weighted feel of the Instinct versus the LZ1 and 2. And again, just the feel that you get from this shoe is unlike anything else out there on the market. So that's what made me continue to keep coming back to the Predator Instinct well after I was done testing them. Other than the number 1 shoe, I put more time into the Predator Instinct than any other boot this year, and that's kind of hard to believe because this shoe came out 6 months into 2014, which really just goes to show you guys how much I enjoyed the Predator Instinct. If you're a fan of the Predator line, if you're looking for something that's going to provide a ton of grip on the ball in a very positive way, then the Predator Instinct is hands down the best option on the market that is going to meet that particular criteria. And finally, my number 1 pick of 2014, my favorite shoe of the year, hands down, is the Nike TIEMPO Legend 5. Now, for those that are more regular viewers of the channel, this shouldn't come as too surprising of a pick. I've been pretty vocal about the Legend 5 being my personal favorite shoe at the moment for the better part of 6 months now. And the reasoning behind that is because everything just feels right with this particular shoe when I'm wearing it. In terms of what I like in a pair of soccer shoes, it kind of ticks all the right boxes. It has a very simple kangaroo leather upper in combination with that Hypershield liner. Just makes it feel a little bit more modern and not as bulky as a lot of kangaroo leather shoes out there. The fit and shape of the shoe just works really well with my foot type personally, so I find them extremely comfortable. The sole plate is on the thinner side, and because of that, a lot more flexible, which is something that I like. And of course, it has the TIEMPO stud pattern, which is one of my personal favorites currently on the market. So again, it kind of just ticks all the right boxes as far as what I like personally in a pair of soccer shoes. And amongst the chaos of trying out every single new model, wearing new shoes every single week, while that may seem like a dream come true, and to a certain extent it is, I'm not complaining by any means, there comes a time where your feet hurt and you just want to put something on your feet that you're comfortable with. It's not going to take any getting used to, and for me, that shoe was the Nike Tiempo Legend 5. So that is really the reasoning why I picked this boot as my personal favorite of 2014, and at the moment, still my personal favorite shoe. So again, Legend 5, a shoe that I can strongly recommend. It's not for everybody, but if you're looking for something that is modern, but at the same time very traditional with that soft kangaroo leather upper, this is a shoe that you should definitely take a look at. Alright guys, that's it for my top 10 personal favorite shoes of 2014. I apologize for the video being a little bit long, but I was really enthusiastic about making this one. It was really cool for me to look back on 2014 and consider every single shoe that I tested throughout the year, and there were a ton of them, and pick out the very best 10 and then put them in order of how I like them, which was very, very tricky for me. And again, I thought it was cool to kind of put that all in one video, and the reason for the longer video is because I really wanted to give every shoe at least a minute or two of explanation as to why I liked it, just because I felt every model was deserving. It was a great year for soccer cleats. There were so many great performers out there, and every shoe on this top 10 list I really feel could have easily been a #1 pick for somebody. And again, please keep in mind these are my personal picks, so they may differ from yours. Leave your picks down below in the comment section like I mentioned earlier in the video. If you guys have any questions at all regarding the picks that I made, or even suggestions, leave those down below in the comment section. I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. That would be greatly appreciated. If you guys want more information on any of the products featured in today's video, check out my website, soccerreviewsforyou.com. You'll find written reviews for all of these shoes that really go into detail on the overall fit, feel, and performance. And you'll just get much more information than you're actually going to find on the YouTube channel, believe it or not. So again, if you haven't checked out the website, soccerreviewsforyou.com, link down below in the description. Go ahead and check it out. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.